Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this is a first part of a two-part series, and this is what I did to get to level 34, even though I'm level 36. But it's going to go up to level 34 because I think that's the most important piece to that. And I'm going to start off at level 20 and what I did. Actually, let me I actually have to confirm exactly when the Franklin and Vidar can be built, because I believe, let's see, is it going to tell me? Dang it. I don't think it's going to tell me because I already have it built. I want to say this one is somewhere in the ballpark of a level 22 shipyard, 21-ish. And then the Vidar is going to be a level 25 shipyard. So all the ships on the bottom, I have set up for everyone to see what I would focus on. And this video is going to go up to level 28-ish to kind of show you guys what I've done here. So the very first thing you want to think about is at level 20, you get the Kara. It's an interceptor. It's a free ship. The biggest mistake I see a lot of people do, and keep in mind, this is my perspective, because there's so many different approaches you can do, but I see people putting uncommon crystal into it. And that's the biggest mistake you can do, because it doesn't take you very far. If these ships had, exchangeable and replaceable parts and you can move them around on other ships, yeah, it would be worth investing into. But since these ships you can't, and they only take you to a certain point, I had to really prioritize exactly what I was going to invest into, because I didn't want to buy a whole bunch of packs. And the drops you get from refining are definitely slim to none. So I knew going out the gate at level 20, you get a Kara, level 22, you get a Vaklis, and level 24, you get a Kumari. What I noticed when I got my Kumari is it was a really big game changer. You really could get going on your faction game. Now, it's not saying you can't do your faction stuff before then, but you actually have a strong enough ship to really get it in gear. And so all those ships before the Kumari, with the exception of the Franklin, I didn't put any... No, I will take that back. I did put uncommon crystal into my Kara a little bit, and a little bit more gas into my Vaklis. However, what I would suggest you do is you just steamroll up to level 24, get that shipyard, get that Kumari. That is probably going to be one of the best things you can do, or invest in the Franklin, because the Franklin people use all the time. Even up to level 50, I know players are still using their Franklin. So that would be my suggestion. At level 21-ish, you're going to be able to unlock the Franklin. Start investing in that. Start doing your swarm, that sort of thing. And you can definitely play around with that. Any uncommon you are going to invest in the Kara or Vaklis will eventually be wasted. You'll eventually very quickly outgrow those ships, especially at the pace the game is going now, and not really use those ships. Now, of course, there's going to be people in the comments that say, I still use my Vaklis. It is a real... No, it's not. It's not a good ship. I think they're definitely were designed for when the game was a lot slower at those levels, but the game has picked up a lot of pace. So I would definitely recommend building it, taking it up, a couple of levels, but I would be very mindful about the amount of uncommon you put into it, especially the Kara and the Vaklis, because almost all research is gas. There's some research that's a little bit different, but the majority of research is gas. That's where a lot of your gas will be going in the upper levels. And if you get a level 28 Explorer, that's going to be a huge gas hog. Then for the crystal, that goes into all of your miners. So your Horizons, your level 30 faction miners, those are going to suck down so much crystal as well as, some ore, some gas, depending on what kind of faction miner you end up getting. That's the nice thing I like about the Franklin, is it does take a little bit, but not that much. The big thing about the Franklin is you just have to grind a lot of swarm every day to get those frequency modulators. So I'm going to cross out the Kara, and I'm going to cross out the Voklis. So we're done with those. So really the first ship you want to take a look at, and I put this crew in here very specifically for players at this level. This is a very sturdy team to go and fight the swarm with. You have Tilan. She is definitely going to help you with those torpedoes. You have Gala. She's going to help you avoid that critical damage from those torpedoes. And then you have Chen, and you're going to increase the dodge, shield deflection, and armor of the ship by 45% against hostiles because of her synergy in that group. Now, yes, I know Pike is a really good option. However, beginning players don't have Pike. They might, but more beginning players do not have Pike and Moreau. So I'm not even going to talk about those two. There is another group you can choose from that works really well as a secondary group, and that's Cadet Uhura as captain. You can do a Cadet McCoy, you can even do a Kirk, Cadet McCoy or Kirk, and then you can put Chen in there if you're fighting enemies with energy damage, or Tilan with enemies that do kinetic damage. So that's going to lead me, out of the Franklin. The Franklin, I'll show you right now. I could do some stuff here. So as you guys can see, I have 1.22 million frequency modulators, but the phasers on this thing, each phaser is 550k. I'm going to be waiting for an event on these. So I'll probably be able to do 3 of the 4 components, and pretty close to getting it to tier 7. I haven't really played a lot with my Franklin because I have an Enterprise, but I am slowly working it out. So just keep that in mind. Franklin, like I said, is a great ship. It will take you for a very long time. It is definitely a ship to invest in. You can do the swarm every day. It's a great way to get your dailies done. And it's a great way to get some partial dilithium and tritanium as well every day. And then, of course, they're going to have Swarm Sunday. And on Swarm Sunday, it's a really great way to get some officer shards, be it Khan or Mara, I believe, who I don't even use, and I have her maxed. But Khan is crucial, so you definitely want to be hitting that Swarm Sunday every single Sunday. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap this out for my Vidar. I know we're skipping over the Kamari, we're going to come back to it. But same thing with the Vidar. You're going to be fighting those those Borg probes. They're going to be shooting torpedoes at you. This setup works great with them as well. Pike, Moreau, and Tilan work as well. Cadet Uhura, Cadet Bones, and Tilan work really well too. So really depends on the PvE that you're doing. If you're fighting explorers or if you're fighting interceptors. So this one works pretty well. I'm slowly getting through this. This is a little bit of a different faction. For one, the Vidar is one of the only ships. It was an event ship, but it is one of the only ships that is actually useful outside of its event. Now, it's not the best, but it is actually pretty useful at the lower levels. So you just want to keep that in mind. Couple of things here. It does require you to collect the Borg inert probes that you have to collect by shooting down the Borg ships. It does require some uncommon to tear it up. I actually just got mine because I never got it originally, so that's the reason why it's such a low tier. It is a lot to do your swarm, to do your Vidar, and to continue to do these other events. But the really big thing about the Vidar, let me go into the refinery here. So, as you can see, you can get what you need to tear it up. You can get what you need to tear up Borg crew. But the big thing is credits. Now, these are directly tied to the tier of your Vidar, which is why you want to bring up that tier of the Vidar. These credits are going to come very handy into buying those faction blueprints. So, if you're at level 25 and you want to get a Saladin, you really want to work on a Vidar and get it tiered up as highly as possible and run your Borg daily. That way you can take these Borg probes and you can go ahead and buy faction credits. I'm not doing it yet because it isn't tiered up all the way, and 95 faction credits really doesn't do all that much for me. And I really need these charged nano probes to tier up my Vidar right now. So I'm not going to focus too much on those. Another good thing you can do is you can buy faction points. I don't recommend doing that just because you can easily just grind them out. But if you do find yourself, in a bit of a pickle, you can definitely go ahead and get that done. So Vidar, another great ship as well to be using overall in the game. So back at level 24, this is when we unlock the Kumari. The Kumari is the battleship that you will unlock, and this will really start you off in your faction game. It is, so the one thing to know is that Romulans are best on battleships. Their abilities are geared towards battleships. So this is going to be a very basic battleship crew setup. I kept it really simplistic because I know not a lot of players have Charvenek or have the other Romulans or, have some of the Klingons to take advantage of these things. So I would strongly encourage you using this setup right here. Right now, for if you're a level 24, it wouldn't really matter the tier. Just know that this is not for fighting hostiles. You definitely want to go back to the Chen synergy group and really focus. Like if you're using your Kumari to fight explorers, you definitely want to go ahead and use a different setup. And what I would use, let me go ahead and bring that up here, is in this situation I would probably use Cadet Uhura as captain, Cadet Bones, and Chen, because Chen is going to have that ability to reduce energy damage, which is what phaser damage is. So that is another great setup to use while you're hunting hostiles in your Kumari. This ship is a little bit different with about how much you want to invest. As you guys can see, I have mine at tier 5. It's nowhere near maxed. That is how much it is going to be requiring. I remember when that was a lot. That's the funny thing. I remember when it was like, 210 ore is so much. And that's nothing compared to what I need now. But for level 24 players, it is a lot. So I would say I was really comfortable at tier 5, and I believe that took me up to level 28. Now, you could bring this up further. Just know that the more you invest in it, the more you're wasting, because you're going to be shifting to another starship at level 28. One thing I am noticeably not talking about are these. These are the level 26 ships. So I have the Legionary. There's also the Mayflower and the D3. They do not scale well at all. They're good for level 26 players, and that's about it. And yes, I know you can take them up to a certain point. I highly suggest that if you want to get these to collect them, definitely go for it. Get the versions in the Augment store. You can get those as well. However, if you are the kind of player that wants to minimize the amount of cost you're putting into this game, I would not even mess with these ships. They are inherently flawed. They will take you a little bit further, but honestly, you're better off in the Kumari. And that's all I can say about that. That's my personal bias, though. I would definitely recommend you getting another opinion. If you're like, no, I want to get that level 26 ship, go for it. But I highly suggest you just skip over them. So the last two ships I'm going to talk about in this video is two of the level 28 faction ships. The first faction ships that you can get. If you guys have watched this video before, or these kind of videos, you know I hate the Bortus, which is the Klingon ship. However, what I will say about the Bortus is it is a good base cracker. So if you want to do a lot of raiding and you don't care so much about speed, definitely go for the Bortus. I will tell you, though, if you are trying to use a Bortus and hostile hunt, that thing moves like a slug. It is the slowest thing in the galaxy. Everyone will beat you to that hostile. The one ship that can beat them to it is this baby right here. The Saladin is an interceptor. All interceptors are very fast ships at impulse. Not warp, but at impulse, they move very quickly. And they pack a very strong punch. Especially since the USS Saladin is bugged. So this ship does a huge amount of damage in its very first torpedo hit. So which would be, let's see, this one right here, the phaser turrets. This will pack a huge punch. It has such a high critical damage yield that it can get to. So if you can land one of those, it will definitely do a lot of damage. The Saladin will actually work in tandem with the Harrison officer really well, as long as you can do a critical hit on that first torpedo. But these Klingons are a very good starting setup for the Saladin. They definitely take advantage of an interceptor's damage output with its torpedoes. High critical rate from these officers that would apply to the Saladin. Highly recommend them. There's a couple of different setups that you can use. However, this is one of my favorites. So if you don't have them and you are looking for an alternative, you can definitely switch over to the Explorer setup. So I also have the Centurion. As you guys can see, it's only tier 6. The Centurion suffers from a really big lack of power until you tier it up a lot. It is not my biggest pick. Actually, in fact, I would probably take the Bortus over the Centurion. However, if you're at tier 7, tier 8 with a Centurion, it can actually outtake a Saladin. But it will take quite of an investment from you in order to get it to that point. So I definitely would recommend a Saladin hands down over any other level 28 ship. And this is actually a really good crew setup because as Bones is the captain, he's actually boosting the other officer abilities on the bridge. So he's boosting Spock's ability to repair the shields, and he's boosting Kirk's ability to do morale. So this is actually a really solid setup that I used earlier in the game. I don't really use this as much because the Enterprise does the same thing that Spock does, so I don't use my max Spock anymore. So this is basically going to be the best route I can tell a lot of players to do. As for the faction goes, I will definitely cover that in another video. But these 5 ships are the ones you want to get up to level 28. Level 30, it gets a little bit different with the minor, but we'll talk about that in the next video as well. So if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them down below. If you are asking about, any kind of crew setups, definitely in the comments, put down what crew you're thinking of, what crew you have, put down their tiers so I can get an idea, because tiers matter a lot when it comes to crew. At these lower levels, not so much, but definitely at those higher levels. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and click that bell for future notifications on other videos. Thank you guys. Take care, and I'll talk with you later.